If you're struggling to finish a workout, or you're not seeing the incremental improvements that you thought you should be experiencing at this time, is that because you're overtraining, or is it because you're undereating? Let's take a look at this interesting subject. I can't tell you how many times people will report themselves to us after they've fallen into this mindset of intermittent fasting and doing a very calorically restricted diet to kind of cut weight or to make weight. Depending on what sport you're involved with, where we're getting into power per watts in the realm of watts per kilogram. For those of you that cycle, that'll be very familiar to you. For those of you that run, we measure power as well there. For some of you that ride motocross, the ideology that's promoted that you have to be light on the bike to get the whole shot. Obviously, there's some credibility to all of those, but the part that I find very frustrating as a physiologist is there are a multitude of ways to determine if there's an insufficient amount of calories associated with the demands that are being put on the body. My wife and I just adopted a 85-pound golden doodle, and not having a dog that big before in my life, I Googled, hey, how many calories should my dog eat? And from one of the top veterinary clinics, it said, if you don't feed your dog a sufficient amount of calories, and then it provided a laundry list of all the health ramifications associated with it. And literally, as I was reading this article, an ad popped up for intermittent fasting. Now, to me, I find that very humorous. I'm being told by one of the top veterinary clinics in the country, make sure that you don't underfeed your animal, because if you do, here's all the health ramifications. And then we're being told that intermittent fasting is healthy. Now, I've said this before, and I'm going to reiterate it again here in case you're new. I understand the textbook descriptions on what intermittent fasting does. I get it, I understand that. But I've been doing this for 39 years at the time of this recording. I have never had one person that's ever presented themselves to me that's getting enough sleep and balancing stress in their life where their body positively adapts to intermittent fasting for any extended period of time. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It ends up being the straw that breaks the camel's back, as they say. And the health ramifications, the scales tip and all hell breaks loose. So I want to come back to this ideology of, am I undereating or am I overtraining? Now, it's beyond the scope of this video, but there's a condition known as REDS, Relative Energy Deficiency. It's an acronym that we use in the physiology world. And what is really disheartening about this is if you get involved with clinical studies and you look at working with athletes for an extended period of time, what you'll notice is an athlete that's calorically restricted for an extended period of time and or is complementing that with high intensity interval training, the health ramifications are absolutely enormous. Now, I would encourage you to do this. If you go and you Google relative energy deficiency, you're going to go and you're going to look at two different levels of issues. One is just general health. You're going to have a suppressed immune system. You're going to have lack of sexual drive. You're not going to be building lean muscle mass. You'll have, I mentioned the immunity side, you're going to find yourself being ill quite often. You might find yourself being a little bit intolerable, maybe a little bit, think about it from an irritability standpoint. You don't tolerate a lot of people. You don't tolerate maybe cold water. You get really irritated at red lights. They'll go out and they'll outline things that are pretty obvious from a health standpoint. But if you go back to the beginning of my video here today, what about the performance ramifications? Well, it goes without saying that if you're not sleeping good and your immune system is suppressed and you're craving simple sugars and you're real irritable, you're going to notice a lot of that's going to spill over into the physiological side. You're going to lose raw power. You're going to lose top end speed. You're going to lose aerobic capacity. You're going to find yourself getting injured quite often. That's why I opened up today's conversation with, is that an overtraining issue or is that an undereating issue? If you follow me for any period of time, you know I'm a huge fan of the Garmin platform. There's a very easy report. When I say easy to read, easy to maintain report that is sitting right there on your dashboard every day. What is your calorie expenditure? Remember, calorie expenditure is going to be a combination of resting as well as active calories. You come up with a grand total. So if you go back and you look at yesterday or you look at the last 7 days, how many days in a row do you think the body can handle being calorically restricted before the health ramifications and ultimately the performance ramifications are going to start to catch up? Not very long. Now again, I will always want you to challenge me. I absolutely love adult conversations. I love when people want to have a discussion and share thoughts and ideas and experiences. And that's what I wanted to leave you with on this video is I want you to take some time and really think about, do you feel horrible? Do you notice that your performance is falling off? Do you notice that you're not building muscle? Do you notice you're packing on body fat? Do you notice sleep is going the wrong direction? Is that overtraining? Of course it could be. Is it an insufficient amount of calories? Of course it could be. What scares me is when it's both. You're doing too much volume, too much intensity, not enough work, not enough rest to work ratios. You're working a lot harder, longer than you are resting. Then on the other side, you're not eating enough calories, so the body doesn't get enough of what it needs to rebuild itself. It's kind of like you hire me to build a 2-story building, but I only bring enough materials to build one. How do you expect me to build 2 if I haven't brought the appropriate amount of materials? So I want to leave that, thread of thought with you here today. If you happen to have any questions, if you'd like to have an adult conversation with me, you'd like to get into, let's call it a debate. I don't see that being a negative thing. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it. Send me an email. You can do so by sending it to contact@coachrob.com. I'll be happy to engage with you. Maybe we'll get together, have a phone conversation. But more importantly, just make sure that you understand these videos are here for you. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below this video. I'm always happy to engage in a public forum. I'm not afraid to have dialogue in the comments as long as they stay amicable. We do put out a video every day, so please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. And we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.